मैम रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट हो गई है, आप कैमरा और माइक ऑन कर लीजिए।
ओके ओके। मेरी स्क्रीन दिख रही है आप लोगों को?
नहीं मैम, हम दोबारा से शेयर करिए स्क्रीन आप।
हाँ, इज इट विजिबल नाउ?
हाँ जी मैम।
Okay. So as you all know, we are almost done with our syllabus. I'm starting with the revision session from today onwards. So we'll just quickly revise what we have studied so far. I'll be starting with our unit number 1. I know I said I'll start it from unit number 4, but then I said like we'll start from the beginning, and that way we'll be able to cover up entire chapter, in the chronological order, and also in terms of uh, the topics as well, right? So I'm going to start with our unit number 1. How many of us are new here? Okay, so I'll start with our unit number 1, that is Strategic Management in Social Enterprise. It's a basic introductory unit where we will be understanding what social enterprise means, right? And then also what kind of strategy we need, or also it is needed for the social enterprise, or what is the role of strategic management in the social enterprise. So before I start with a unit, I want to begin with this some examples, Indian example. Number one is Resham Sutra. It is a solar silk for rural livelihoods. It's a company that manufactures, designs solar powered reeling and spinning machines for sericulture clusters. This is very much appreciated and used machine for the women in the rural areas who are silk workers. They weave the silk out of the silkworms, and this traditional practice, uh, comes at the cost of a lot of health issues. So to eradicate that and to promote the traditional practices in India, and to make sure that these practices remain productive in India, Resham Sutra designed this solar power reeling and spinning machine. Now, what is the social mission behind their uh, this machine? Why it is a social enterprise? Why do we call it a social enterprise? What is that part that distinguishes this startup from any other business? So the number one is that it makes sure that the traditional silk reeling technique is very costly, but people get it done by giving low wages to the rural silk workers, right? It comes with a lot of health hazards, and it's like total drudgery when it comes to the silk reeling. So this keeping this issue in mind, Resham Sutra basically made sure that the high clean energy and highly productive and a clean energy machinery can be provided to such workers, and that to be at very subsidized rate which they can afford. So that is why it has become a social mission. That's a social mission, and that's why it's become an social enterprise. Now, what is a business model? How do they operate? So the solar, as I told you, it's a solar silk reeling machine. So it works. It's a solar powered machine that is user friendly. It is basically designed for the women of the rural areas who work in such areas, right? And basically, this Ration Sutra company earns the money by selling the machine and providing the after sale services. So that is their revenue model. right? So many of the impact investors supports this cause, and they support scaling of this operation, right? And if we closely look at this company's perspective, they make sure they teach their employees um, how to train the rural workers to work on this machine, how do they maintain and promote villages to adapt this machine. So social impact, what changes on the ground by this company, what changes on the ground, the daily income the daily wages of the rural silk workers have increased, right? Women are paid and they are promoted to participate more in the work, right? And the dependence on any kind of fuel or any emission is eradicated since it's solar powered. So the mission of Resham Sutra is that to empower silk workers, especially women, with better income and working condition using clean technology. The model is for profit as they are selling it and they are earning profits out of it. So it's a for profit model, technology driven social enterprise, and selling solar machines to the self help groups or collectives with training and service support. What are the government touch points to this Resham Sutra? Since it's working for a social cause, government might intervene and they might also support. But in this particular case, Resham Sutra, uh, in this particular case, the machinery is this particular brand is supported by the Directorate of Textile of Odisha, and this ministry purchase the machines and provide these machines on highly subsidized rate to the tribal women. So that's one of the government touch point, that if a company is doing such work, government take support such initiatives, right? Then there is Zikitsa Healthcare. Zikitsa Healthcare is the emergency medical service that is partially owned by government, as in it's a public-private partnership, right? So the main focus is that they need to provide all the healthcare services despite of the location, whether it is rural or urban, despite the geographical location, right? They want to make sure that no emergency is declined or no medical help is declined to anybody. Everybody gets the equal access. It is the ambulance that has all the healthcare system in the system, and the person who are the doctors or the nurse, whoever are there in the ambulance, they provide all the basic facilities in the ambulance, and they also make sure that they are trained, highly trained. um, it's a Delhi-based ambulance and emergency medical service provider that works across multiple Indian states. It uses GPS, and there are specific call centers for it, and they have standardized protocol for emergency responses. They make sure that the emergency care is accessible to all, and that to be timely, including the rural and the low income population, right? So the main focus is to reduce any preventable deaths caused by lack of ambulance or pre-hospital care. What is the business model? How do they get the, they raise funds? How do they lead? How do these services leads to financial sustainability? So they operate under a public-private partnership, that is with the state governments, and government pay for the ambulance, government pay for the services or the tenders. Patients receive all the free and heavily subsidized services, and they use technology and trained paramedics to standardize any response and reporting. So why this is a social impact? Because what what has Zikitsa changed on the ground or at the social level? That it provides timely responses to the underserved regions or the remote regions. It also provides structured pre-hospital care, right? And they make sure to reduce and to, prevent all the cases, right? Stabilize the patients before reaching the hospital, and strengthen over emergency healthcare and infrastructures in state. So Zikitsa make sure all these things are done. That's their social impact. So the mission is that no one is denied of any healthcare facility. The model is for-profit service again. They operate under the PPP contract. They use technology and standard protocols. When it comes to the government touch points, we can see that it is directly embedded with us in the states and National Health Mission Ambulance Scheme. So that means government finances and regulates the service deliveries on a regular basis. Now, these two examples are the examples where the work that company is doing, the main agenda behind it is a social cause, that they are fulfilling a social mission or fulfilling a social impact. So that is what the agenda is here. But with doing that, along with that, they are also raising some funds. So this model is a for-profit social enterprise. Now, if I go, I don't have this example of a not-for-profit social enterprise here, but I'll tell you later on. Once we understand what social enterprise is, social enterprise, as you all know, it is the organization that operates with the primary motive of delivering social impact or any societal impact. They make sure that the social impact, the societal impact is fully accomplished along with the financial sustainability. So it is not a normal business, but it is an enterprise started with keeping in mind that they need to fulfill certain social or societal impact or reach a societal impact or scale it, right? So social enterprise are basically of two types: not for profit and for profit, which we will be discussing in the we'll be discussing later. So these enterprises can vary widely in terms of structure, scope, and sector, but we'll see. They work on the operational ethos, right? They have their cultural value, they have their social values that they need to fulfill. What are the main types of, as we discussed earlier, not for profit and for profit? When it comes to not for profit, it makes sure that all the profit, all the surplus, all the revenue that has been earned is reinvested back into the business activity, right? Uh, they Such organizations, such enterprise basically rely on grants, volunteers, and donations. They make sure the focus of their social enterprise is on maximizing social impact with sustainable revenue generation. When it comes to not for profit social enterprise, the main purpose is profit generating business with the social impact. They make sure that the organization, the enterprise is earning profit, but along with the profit, they are also serving the societal impact, right? So the aim is to be financially self-sufficient or profitable while also delivering social purpose. Now, face that it makes sure the for-profit social enterprise basically faces the challenge of balancing shareholder expectations with the commitment of social goal. This is one of the greatest challenge when it comes to a for-profit social enterprise. So they need to maintain a balance between the profits and the shareholders' expectations along with the social impact, right? What is the entrepreneurial motive? Why do an entrepreneur feels like they should start with a social enterprise? The main some of the highlighted motivations are that they want to make difference in the world, they have a personal passion, or they have a sense of civic duty, or they have a vision for a specific a better society. So it's the innovative approach to problem solving, their willingness to take on risk to fulfill their social and environmental objectives. So that's their entrepreneurial motivation. I will not go here. I'll just directly come to this slide. Not-for-profit social enterprise, the mission focus is to achieve a social good. They are focused on achieving a social good. The surplus that they have earned is reinvested back into the business. The purpose is to, keep the money flowing for the financial sustainability, right? Tax benefit exempt from certain taxes and aiding financial sustainability. So their work, they get tax redemptions and tax benefits in a lot of area. What is the operational model? They work on diverse funding schemes such as grants, donations, fundraisers, and revenue from the services. They get the community, they work on the concept of community engagement. Stronger the community is, stronger the data they will be collect. They will collect, and they will work on it. And strong volunteerism means there is scaling, right? So strong reliance on the community support and volunteerism. Then partnership, they can collaborate with the government, they can collaborate with the private sector under this CSG scheme. They can also collaborate with other NGOs for resources and the program delivery. What are the strategic objectives? Number one is social impact maximization. When it comes to social impact maximization, like that means that the company wants to, yeah, that the company wants to enhance the mission, enhance the reach of the mission, make sure it is effective, make sure it reaches all, right? Financial sustainability, ensure that continued operations through effective financial management. Financial management is very important in both the cases, whether it is a not for profit or for profit. So financial management makes sure that the finances, the cash flow is sustainable. And if that is not there, there is, and a social enterprise might survive for a few years or a year or so, but they will not be able to continue their work. So effective financial management is very much important. Then comes accountability. Accountability means high level of transparency to the donors, beneficiaries, and the public. So once you are, for example, you're raising funds from the public and putting it to the social cause, it is very important for the non-profit, not-for-profit social enterprise to be highly transparent. You need to tell your donors where the money is being used. Just give me 1 minute. Yes. So financial this transparency is very important to maintain. Nowadays, there are many NGOs. Um if you donate something, then you might get a call from that enterprise next year telling you that the money you donated was used for this purpose. So that those are some ways that the transparency can be increased, right? Accountability will be increased, right? So that's a non-for-profit social enterprise. This is again a table that you can go through. So profit allocation, there is no profit they earn, they keep it in their pockets. They reinvest it back into the mission and the programs. Primary goal is to achieve the social impact. Mission, social mission is greater than the profit, right? their revenue sources are donation, grants from the government, social service fees, or fundraising events. They are often tax exempt, right? They It basically depends on the jurisdiction they follow and fall in. What compliances do they follow? So based on that, the tax status is defined. Uh, Board of directors and stakeholders basically focus on the mission fidelity. They make sure the mission is completed. The main objective is to reach or meet the social objective, and financial sustainability is maintained through regular fundraising events, grants from the government, reinvesting any generated surplus back into the business, right? uh, Next, we have is for profit. We have discussed two examples in the very beginning about Resham Sutra and Zikitsa Healthcare. So that those are some of the enterprise which are following for profit model. For profit model means that they are earning money, but with the money or along with the money, they are also fulfilling a social mission. So they have dual purpose, focus on both profit making and achieving a social objective. How is the profit distributed? The surplus is basically distributed to the shareholders, and a significant portion after distributing the funds to the shareholders, the significant amount of the surplus is kept for the social mission, right? Driven, it operates competitively in the market. The social enterprise will compete in the market as per the market conditions, but maintaining their social purpose that they need to achieve. Then operational model is revenue from sales. They provide product, they provide services, they sell it, and they raise revenue from it, and that um, and whatever their product and services they are providing, that is aligned with the mission, social mission. Next is impact investment. Impact investment is something, for example, I'm an investor and I want to invest in a cause of um, equitable education, something like that. Like I want equitable access to the education. So let's say I want to, you know, invest in such cause. So I will look for the options, look for the social enterprises who are actually working on this um, social cause. So that makes me an impact investor. That means I am interested more than in scaling up the impact, right? Or achieving the impact, or I want to contribute to achieve this impact, right? So that becomes then that thing is called impact investor. So impact investment basically means attracting the investors who are interested in achieving the social impact along with the financial returns, right? Then becomes strategic business partnership, aligning with businesses for mutual benefits and enhanced impact. That is strategic business partnership. When it comes to strategic objective, what are the objectives? Number one is balancing profit with the mission, since we are also, you know, we need to make sure that strategies are developed in such a way that serves both the purposes, that is social goals and business interest. Scalability is one of the strategic objective that we want to expand our work, right? Then comes innovation. Innovation means continuously innovating to meet the social needs effectively and maintain the market relevance, to connect the unconnected dots, to think out of the box. We, for a social enterprise to be in the competition, they have to go through all these processes. Now, if I talk about profit allocation, it is basically distributed amongst the shareholders, and profit is reinvested back into the mission, and some of the amount of the profit is reinvested back into the mission. It makes sure that the social impact and profitability is balanced. That's the primary goal. Revenue they get from business activities, investments, or sale of product or sales. Tax status is basically it, the income that they're generating is taxable as per the business regulations. Then comes governance. Both that there is board of directors. Board of directors are there to look over the business activities, right? They take interests in the profit and in the social objective, and also it might include impact investors, venture capitalists, or any other investor. Financial stability is achieved usually through business profits and reinvestments in the growth and mission. Examples could be eco-friendly product companies, or we've just discussed the Zikitsa and other companies, right? So these are all for profit. What is the difference between both of them? Profit allocation for the not-for-profit social enterprise is that they reinvest it back into the mission, and for-profit, they distribute it to the shareholders and the mission. Primary goal is social impact. Here, primary goal is social impact and profit. Revenue sources, donation, grant, service fees, and here it is product sale, service, product or service sale and investments. Tax status is often exempt and it is taxable. Governance, who all are there? In case of not-for-profit, board of directors and stakeholders. And in case of for profit, it's board of directors, shareholders, and stakeholders. Financial sustainability is through fundraisings and reinvestment. And here it is through sale and investment. I will not go to the examples, we might know. Now, how do we recognize and the need and opportunity in social enterprise or entrepreneurship? There are times that we want to, we as an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial mindset thinks that what what is the problem that is being faced by the society, or where is the gap, how can we fulfill that gap, right? So identifying this need and opportunity becomes very important. And this can be only done when you are very much capable of knowing the environment, studying the environment, doing the research, collecting data, and analyzing. Now to just reach out to this, how do we identify or recognize this need and opportunity? We need to follow certain steps. What are those steps? Let's find out. Number one is identifying social needs, understanding societal gaps. This can only happen when you do the community engagement. You directly communicate, direct interact with the community, listen to their problems or stories, listen to their struggles, aspirations, and then you might get an idea that this can be done or this cannot be done. Then data-driven approach, collect a survey, statistical analysis, or demographic studies can really help to understand the demographics, understand the problem majorly faced by which major age group or something like that. And then comes is observing trend. Observing trend means that you are trying to understand the broader societal issues, right? Um, uh, over the period of time for like 10 years or maybe 5 years or 3 years, you are observing the trend that things have gone worse in this case scenario. What is the opportunity? So identifying the social need is very important. Unless and until you do not identify the need of the society, you cannot convert it into the opportunity, right? So once that is identified, then we will move on to the second step, that is finding a viable solution. That means innovation in addressing the social issues. How can we address this issue that we identified in the number first step? So to find a viable solution, you will think outside the box. That is creativity and innovation, creating solutions for the root cause of the social issue. Then sustainability and scalability. You need to make sure that the proposed solution can be sustained over the longer period of time and is capable of being scalable. Scalable means expand. Then feasible study, feasibility study. Feasibility study is one of the study in entrepreneurship where you study that your proposed idea or proposed solution is feasible. That means it is financially viable, the resources are available, potential barriers. What all are the potential barriers to implement this particular top um, uh, social issue? So basically, I don't think so. Innovation is not something thinking, you know, anything that has not been there in the world. But innovation basically means connecting the unconnected dots. I gave the example in this class as well. There was internet, there was mobile phone, there was banking working in separate areas. But somebody would have thought that let's connect all these three on a one platform. They created an app. Now you can do the mobile banking and do UPI and everything, right? Now that is something innovation, we can say. That is all about connecting the unconnected dots, thinking out of the box, but not making something out of the blue. Right, that is not innovation. Making something out of the blue is not innovation, but thinking out of the box and creatively is innovation. So that is very important, that whatever you think, this the solution for that particular problem, will that solution be able to sustain in the market, and does it has potential to be scalable? That's very important. And what financial resource and availability is there, and what possible barriers can be there. And for those barriers, you also need to identify, if such barrier arises, what will be your contingency plan, right? Then step number three is crafting sustainable business model. You need to understand what social problem you've identified, the need, you have done the creativity and innovation, everything you've done. Now you will think what business model, what kind of business model will you follow? Will it be a for-profit social enterprise, or will it be a not-for-profit social enterprise? Right? Revenue generation, what how much revenue are you expecting? Do you want your social enterprise to make profits, and along with that you are you know taking care of the social opportunities or social issues? Then you can follow for profit social enterprise, or else you can go for not for profit. So what is the revenue, what will be the revenue generation? How will you measure the impact, right? What will be the matrix to calculate the matrix? Since there is no such matrix, जैसे अगर हम financial management की बात करें, financial analysis की बात करें, we have ratio analysis, we have cash flow analysis, um, we have we have a balance sheet to look over, but there are many analytics in finance through which we can identify how well your enterprise is performing, how much you have reached, how better or worse have you done from your previous year. We can identify that. So clear cut metrics are defined. But to reach a social impact, there is no such clear matrix defined. But once when you are writing a blueprint of a social enterprise, then you need to mention the matrix. What and how will you say that yes, we have created such impact? For example, there is an NGO that focuses on the girl child education. So they can say this year we've taught 50 students, 50 girls. Next year we have successfully taught, and they scored well in their exams, and total number has increased from 50 to maybe 150. So this is some kind of matrix that one has to set. कि वो, they will get second division in all the classes, they will perform very good in mathematics, science, or any such matrix like that, that a social entrepreneur has to identify in the very beginning. So that is impact measurement. How will you measure the impact? What will be the matrix to measure this impact? So it's a very qualitative perspective, uh, but you know, and to some extent it is also quantitative. But then, do you really prefer quantity over the quality? That's also one of the big dilemma. So impact measurement is all about setting a matrix to study how much impact you have brought to the environment or the society. Then comes community involvement. That means involving, ensuring that community positively engage in your idea, and they come up with the solutions, and they provide you with more insights to do well, right? Then there is scaling for wider impact. That means expanding the reach and deepening the impact. Then after everything, after all the steps, last is that you need to make sure that whatever the social enterprise is doing, that is scalable, that has potential to be scale or expand. So you can, right, a social enterprise must think of strategizing for scaling, for example, geographical expansion or diversifying the product or service. Then partnership and collaboration, that means forming alliance with other organizations, government bodies, or community to increase the impact and facilitate the scalability. Then leveraging tools. It is all about using the powerful tools and reaching a wider audience, making sure that the services are more accessible to all, right? When we are trying to identify the social needs, we are doing community engagement analysis, trend observations. We are trying to understand the unmet needs of the communities. This could be a data survey in communities for mental health needs, something like that. Then finding a viable solution. That means developing innovative and practical solution to address these needs. Social key activity is that they are like that entrepreneur is using creativity and innovation, sustainability and scalability assessment, and feasibility. So example could be developing a mobile app for a mental health resources. Then we have is crafting business model, where uh, focus is on creating sustainable and effective business models for the impact enterprise. For the enterprise, key activities could be revenue generation strategies, impact measurements, and community involvement. Examples could be sliding a scale service model for the accessibility for the mental health resources. Then we have is scaling for the impact. That means expanding the reach and deepening the impact of the solution. The key activity which will be involved is strategies for scaling, partnership, and collaboration, technology utilization. This could be like partnering up with the school for program implementation, or partnering up with the CSR by of private companies, or you know joining with or collaborating with more and more NGOs in one state or in the other state or other way. So that is a scalability, right? Next we have is social and environmental awareness as motivators for the social enterprise. Now, what are such social and environmental motivators for this social enterprise, or how you can better think as a social entrepreneur. So number one is global challenge. Global challenge means the main focus is that awareness of widespread issues which is common for all, for example, climate change, poverty, inequality. The source of awareness could be international news, global forums, or academic studies. How does it impact the entrepreneurship? It inspires the solutions with a broad global impact. Then we have is local community issues, where we try to understand specific challenges faced by the local communities. What is a source of awareness? That community engagement, you engage with the community, local media, personal experiences. How does it impact entrepreneurship? It drives the targeted solutions for the community needs. Then is educational influence. It's a formal education providing foundational knowledge about the societal challenges. What are the main source of awareness? These are social sciences, environmental studies, public health courses. Such forums, this such forms basically add to the theoretical basis of the venture ideas. Public and media disclosure, the influence of documentaries, news, and social media on the understanding social issues. Documentaries, news reports, social media campaigns are the main sources of awareness. Then, impact on entrepreneurship is that raise awareness and shape entrepreneurial perspectives. What are the personal next motivator is personal experience that you have might have directly encountered with a social or environmental challenge. So what could be the source of awareness? It could be personal life experience, travel, and volunteer work. Often the most powerful motivator for the social entrepreneurship. Then we have vicarious expenses experiences, that is learning about others struggle and challenges, that I know somebody and they are going through this. That is about learn, or maybe learning from other stories from where they have come. I'm sure in our circle there are people with different experiences from with the different backgrounds. When they, you can get to know all such, or you can, the source of awareness for such experiences could be storytelling, research, and interviews that encourages empathy, and it creates a desire to change, or increase the impact, right? Next we have is exploring models for social entrepreneurship. Exploring the models for, in this particular section, we will be talking about range of models that a social enterprise can really follow, can use. And this section will help in understanding that there is, it is not just for profit or not for profit, but there are, in this is the broad umbrella term, umbrella categories, but under this we have lot of subcategories, lot of different enterprises model that a person can think of, right? Now I have total six types of social entrepreneurship models. Number one is Number one is traditional not non-profit model, which is a charitable venture focused on the social mission, which we kind of did a not for profit. Then we have a social business model, which is for profit, which we also did. It is about all about profit making ventures with the social goal. Then I have is then we have is cooperative model, owned and operated by the enterprises. Hybrid model, a combination of not for profit and for profit. Microfinance institution is all about facilitating financial inclusions. Basically, enterprises that provide microloans to the underserved regions of for women entrepreneurs to support their families or something like that. Then we have is technology driven ventures that they leverage technology for a social good, or they use technology for a social good. I will not be this is same traditional not for profit model which we just discussed. Everything is same. Then we have this social business model, which is for profit, which we already done. This is a cooperative model. It is a member owned and operated enterprise. This is something, this is new. So we'll cover this up. Cooperatives are basically businesses that are owned and operated by the group of individuals for their mutual benefits. The principle is they basically work on the principle of democracy, equality, and solidarity. A very fine example of cooperative model is Amul. Amul is one of a cooperative model that works on the agenda that all the farmers, all the dairy farmers are basically paid well, right, for their products. They are not being exploited, and at whatever rate they are selling their product, the cooperative will purchase it on the same rate. So it's a cooperative model. Amul is that. It basically started with the idea that the dairy farmers are not being exploited. So this is one of the good example for the cooperative model. The funding and revenue is basically members' contribution and revenue from the sales or services. Operations, it is managed democratically by the members with the profits shared and reinvested in the cooperatives. Impact strategy basically focuses on community development, fair trade, and sustainable practices. So, for example, a worker owned cooperatives that produce fair trade coffee or anything. But the finest example for this would be um, your Amul. Then we have is hybrid model. Hybrid model basically combines not for profit and for profit elements of a social enterprise. That means uh, the company, the enterprise might have multiple business lines, but and also they have multiple business lines that but they support certain social mission. So funding is that they get funding from diverse sources, diverse streams, and includes commercial activities and donations. They run both profit making and charitable programs, often using profits or commercial activities to fund the social initiatives. Impact strategy could be leveraging the strengths of both not for profit and for profit model to maximize the social impact. So example could be uh, a social enterprise that runs a for-profit tech company and a not-for-profit education initiative. Microfinance is basically MFIs, they are also known as, are organizations that offer financial services to individuals who typically lack access of the conventional banking. So, for example, could be providing microloans to the women in rural areas and support various entrepreneurial activities among them. So that's the microfinance institution. How do they generate funds and revenue? Like any other bank, they gave the loan to the like any other bank. They provide the microloans, and on the loans they earn revenue through interest. So that is how they generate the funds and revenue. And sometimes they also get the funds through the grants by the government. So they aim to be self-sustaining. while providing affordable services to their clients. Operations could be uh, they are basically primarily focused on providing small loans, micro loans, savings account, insurances, and other financial products to individuals and some businesses that do not have any access to the traditional banking. How do they create the impact and what all strategy do they use? The primary goal for them is to empower economically disadvantaged groups by providing them you know, a tool for financial help, right? And also a source uh, through which they can make sure that they can grow their own business, thereby improving their livelihoods and fostering economic development. So that's the finance institutions, MFIs. Next we have is technology driven venture. That means leveraging technology for the social good. So here we are trying to generate the sales through technology or sales of technological products or services. These ventures also attracts the investments from those interested in the tech driven social impact. What are the operations? They make sure that they focus on developing and implementing technological solutions such as apps, online platforms, or hardwares that address specific social issues. Impact, make sure that technology enhances the efficiency, scalability, effectiveness. Um, they try to bridge the gap in service delivery or access to the information that traditional methods cannot effectively address. So, example is Zikitsa that we studied. That's a technology-based services that they are providing. So, Zikitsa are one of the great example for technology-driven ventures. There we have is a brief table that can help us just digest what we just started. So, traditional non-profit is the organization that focus on social issues. Example could be a Goonj. Example could be Goonj. Goonj is an NGO that focus on disaster relief, humanitarian aid, and community development. They have this a wing where they take the you can drop off your clothes to their NGO center. They will figure out which cloth is it can be used further and which cannot. If not, then they you reuse it and recycle it in a way that it can be used as a product. So Gunj is the NGO that that do such kind of work. Then we have a social business model which is for profit, right? Amol is not, it's a cooperative model. It's not a, so this needs to be changed here. It's not a for profit. It is now a for profit, but it is the base of that base of Amul is that it's a cooperative model, typically cooperative model. Here we have one of the example for cooperative model is Seva, that is Self-Employed Women's Association that provides employment and empowerment opportunities to the women artisans. Then we have his hybrid model. Arvind Eye Care System is one of the model that and one of the prime model, prime example for this model. They provide the health eye care services for free and if the in such some services or um uh, some services if they are very expensive, so they charge very subsidized amount, and it is a it's a blend of free treatments with the paid services, and it is one of the prime example in this area. Microfinance institution, one of the example is SKS Microfinance that offers micro loans to the women in rural areas. Then we have is technology driven venture, Zikitsa. that we discussed. So this is one of the these are all the Indian examples. This is our entire unit number one done. Now we are moving on to our unit number two, which is launching social venture. Social venture, how can we? Social venture is basically, it refers to the entrepreneurial undertaking that prioritizing the social or environmental goals alongside or above financial returns. So here, the social goal is greater than the financial returns. Social ventures primarily focus on addressing the societal challenges, creating positive impact, unlike the traditional business where the main motive is to maximize shareholders' wealth, right? So it is it basically transforms the visions and make sure that it reaches the impact, right? The focus is laying a strong foundation that aligns closely with both the market demands and the social objective. What are the key characteristics of a social venture? It is mission driven, innovative approach, financial strength, impact measurement, and stakeholders engagement. So, for example, a company is manufacturing affordable solar panels that provide a clean energy to the underdeveloped region is one of a social venture, right? A for-profit business that is developing a mobile app that connects volunteers with the local community opportunities where the business model includes partnership with corporations seeking CSR initiatives. From starting a social enterprise from concept to plan, how can we we have conceptualized how can we that we've decided that this is something XYZ, something we can do. Now how to you know create a proper plan out of it. It is very important to create a plan, because once a blueprint is ready, only then you will be able to work any further. So to plan it out, we need to understand the social problems. That means we need to do the in-depth analysis, identify the problem, need analysis, and gap analysis. Market research focuses on target markets, competition, and the demand assessment. Then conceptualizing the entire enterprise's idea, that is, what will be the solution? What is the value proposition? What's the social impact goal that can be achieved, right? Then comes the business model development, where we'll be identifying which model is best suitable for our enterprise's idea, which the six models that we did earlier, in on those in those models which can be uh, highly suitable and impactful. So we will be deciding that based on the revenue model exploration, what will be our revenue mode of or source of revenue, what will be the operational planning, what is the impact integration. We will identify all those. Then step number fifth is strategic planning. That means we will identify the short-term goals, long-term vision, a roadmap or a blueprint. And in case any market there are markets. See, market is volatile and it changes every second. If it changes, if certain conditions come up, how what will be the contingency plan then? So you don't have to think on the spot. Once you're in a planning phase, you can plan it way ahead. Okay. Next we have is business plan. When we are converting this ideation to a plan, business plan comes very handy to put down everything in a structured and organizedly and in an organized manner. So business plan is nothing but a comprehensive document that outlines the business goals, strategies, and the steps that one might take to achieve them. So it serves as a roadmap for starting, running, and growing the business. So it serves as a blueprint that guides the enterprise from the initial stage through its growth and development. For social ventures, a business plan is not just a financial document, but it is a reflection of the venture's mission, strategies, and commitments to the social impact. What are the importance of social business? Number one is that it clarifies your vision. It makes sure that business plan uh, it helps in defining the goal, strategies, and the steps needed to achieve them. Next is secure funding. What will be the source of fund? A very well, quite written business plan really helps in identifying the funding source, right? And also, I'll discuss one thing further as well. In a business plan, one has to mention 5 years of financial projections, even though you've not earned that, but you have to make every single detail of your you have to show that in the 5 years what will your balance sheet will look like, what will your income expenditure statement will look like, P&L will look like, what will be your cash flow statement, what will be the ratio analysis. So this is something that uh, is projected way ahead in a business plan. Measures progress. You will set benchmark, you will set some matrix, you will set some goals, and based on those, you will track the company's performances and growth. Then adapt to change. So business plan can never be rigid. It has to be flexible so that if there are any shifts in the market or any new opportunity arises, the plan should be able to adapt to those changes, and you will be able to easily adjust to those market conditions. Now, what are the key components of the business plan? So, the number one component is executive summary. When we are talking about executive summary, it is the first impression to any investor, right? First impression is the last impression. So, executive summary is the same. If the executive summary is way more interesting, it catches the eye of the investor. That means that investor is going to read your entire business plan. But if the executive summary does not catch the attention, there are highly chances that the investor will not look at your business plan, right? A business plan has to be a business plan has to be, or the executive executive summary has to be executive summary has to be very eye catching. So executive summary is a gateway to the business plan. It encapsulates all the social ventures mission, key objectives, and a brief overview of the market, operational plan, and financial projections. It is designed to grab the attention of the reader. It provides a compelling snapshot of the venture, right? Next, we have is social problems and solutions, that is detailing the mission. This section basically is the heart of the social okay, this is the heart of the social issue the venture is addressing. It basically uh, describes the problem that is backed by the research or the data, right? So you are telling, you're giving a concrete reason that why you come up with this plan, because then you will justify, because I did this study, I collected this much data, and then I found that this is the problem that pertaining in this area or in this particular industry. So that is how you can identify the social issue, social problems and solutions. The proposed solution that includes the products or services should be clearly linked to how it addresses and identify the problems. Next we have is market analysis. That means we are trying to understand the landscapes. In-depth market analysis is very crucial, and a business plan must have this market analysis because it uh it tries to it makes sure that target market is studied very well. You understand the demographics, you understand the consumer needs, and you are analyzing who all are your competitors. So market analysis may all these portions are covered. So this section should basically demonstrate any knowledge of the market and justify the ventures placed within it. Next, we have is organizational structure and team showcase or leadership management. So, under this section of a business plan, one must mention what all organizational structure will be there of your social enterprise. This part also highlights the governing model, who will be the line of authority, chain of command, line of authority. Everything is mentioned there. Then who all will be working, who all are the partners, what are their educational qualification, how much salary will they withdraw, what how much work will they do. And you will also mention that if we want to hire further, what kind of educational background we'll be targeting. So all such information we will be putting in the business plan. What skills are needed? How will the venture become success? What kind of expertise, what roles will be there? Everything you need to put in a business plan. Then we have his operational plan, which is all about day-to-day running of the venture. The operational plan basically covers logistics, production process, facilities, and human resource needed. What will be the day-to-day, activities, daily operations, daily goals? See, there is a structure. You must have started in the strategic analysis also. The number one is mission, then vision, then comes the mission, then comes objective, then strategy, objective, and then comes the goal. Goal is something जो हमारा day to day activities के लिए होता है. Objective could be of a week or a month. Strategy is something that we are, strategy is something taking certain decisions to reach or meet our vision or mission, right? So operational plan will cover all the day-to-day activities. It will outline all the daily operations, social chain management, and any other operational details which are required. Then we have is marketing and sales strategy. Marketing and sales strategies is all about reaching and engaging customers. Now, this section outlines the strategies for the market penetration and customer retention. It focuses on marketing channels, sales tactics, pricing strategies, and customer services plan. So here we will mention what will be our four P's, what will be the market, how will we penetrate into the market, how will we retain the customer, what will be the loyalty aspect from their side. It should be included in the market channel, sales tactics, all such things will be included there. Then we have is, 1 minute. Okay. Social impact measurement, quantifying change. That means we will identify, we will measure and report the social impact. That means we are trying to set some social matrix right? It should impact the specific impact matrix, methods of data collection analysis, how the data will be reported, how, what matrix, what benchmark will be follow. All such information will be provided here. Then we have his financial plan, which is the economic backbone of any venture. How, what will be the financial sustainability, revenue projections, cost benefit analysis, break even points, cash flow statements, break-even analysis. Again, we will do that. Then we have is risk and mitigation strategy. We will identify both internal and external risk, which includes the market risk, operational risk, financial risk, impact risk, investment risk, all kind of risk. And we will also outline the strategies to mitigate these risks and show preparedness and resilience planning. How well we are prepared if such error arises, how well we can, how can we, how will be prepared, and what all contingency plan or strategy we will follow. Now, this is an overview of what we have just done. So, first is executive summary, a concise overview of entire business plan, social problems and solution, where we will be studying the detailed description of social issues that are being addressed, market analysis, where we will analyze the market trends, customer needs and competition. Then we have his organizational structure and team, where we will be identifying what will be the structure, what will be the organogram, what will be the top level management, middle level management, low level management, what will be the profile of the key team members. Then comes the operational plan that we will outline daily operations, logistics, and resource requirements, marketing and sales strategy, where we will be identifying the strategies to penetrate in the market, how we will engage with the customer, with the client, and what sales tactics we'll be using. Then we have a social impact measurement. That means we will approach to measure what approach we will be using to measure and report the venture's social impact. Then we have his financial plan, detailed financial projections, including revenue, cost, and cash flow analysis. Risk and mitigation strategies, that means identification of the potential risk and strategies to mitigate them. Now, we have very interesting section next, that is funding models and resources. What funding resources or models are available? Number one is crowdfunding. Number two is social impact bonds. Number three is traditional grants and donations. And number four is impact funding. Now, when we go, when we think about crowdfunding literally means that funding generated by the crowd, right? Or from the crowd. So it involves raising small amount of money from large number of people, basically through online platforms. It can be revenue based, it can be equity based, or it can be donation based, right? It is ideal for ventures that have compelling story or product that resonates with a broader audience. It offers the opportunity to test market demand and build a community around the venture. Now, this approach basically has gained popularity as a means of bypassing traditional funding routes such as bankers, venture capitalists, and angel investors. Now, why crowdfunding works for social good? Because crowdfunding investors are generally more willing to support initiatives with the social purpose, and these projects can generate higher engagement. Crowdfunding, and it brings together the group of passionate supporters to fund a project that they believe in bringing to life. So basically, you have to I'll just share some few examples of Indian crowdfunding companies. Number one is Keto, which is India's largest crowdfunding platform, mainly used for medical emergencies and NGOs and social causes. Then there is Milap, again focuses on medical and personal fundraising. Then we have Impact Guru, which focus on healthcare crowdfunding and has raised larger amounts for the patients and NGOs. Then we have is Fuel a Dream, which is about which supports the idea and social causes, works on donations and reward-based crowdfunding. Then we have is Wishberry that focuses on creative projects, film, music, and art. But basically, sorry, basically Wishberry supports the local artisans and creative projects. Then we have is Donate Cart, which is a unique platform where people donate items instead of money. So that's the Indian crowdfunding companies. Now crowdfunding can be of four types. Right. By the name, we can easily identify reward based means that companies, you know, providing some kind of reward. Then there is donation based, and there is equity based and debt based. Now, types of crowdfunding, reward based crowdfunding is basically um, companies make sure that you support them now and badle mein they pay you some reward. For example, pay 2000 to get the early version of a smartwatch. It's very common on Kickstarter, uh, the platform. So this is basically reward based क्राउड फंडिंग. अब इससे होता क्या है कि आपका प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च भी हो जाता है, आपको ये भी हो जाता है कि आपको रिटर्न आ रहा है, बट यू आर नॉट कॉम्प्रोमाइजिंग विद योर इक्विटी. आपको पूरा कंट्रोल है आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे. बदले में आप उनको प्रोडक्ट का एक प्रोडक्ट दे रहे हो, एंड वो प्रोडक्ट का एक ना टेस्ट मार्केटिंग भी हो जाता है. Then we have is equity crowdfunding, that you are selling small stakes of your company in the form of equity. So it is usually used for the startup and growing companies. It is highly regulated, offering the investors potential financial return, and is popular for startups seeking higher growth. For example, invest 50,000 and own small percentage of a company. Then we have is donation based crowdfunding, where people donate to a cause that they want to support with no expectations. मतलब people want to support and pay अपने मन से. They don't want कि उसके बदले में उनको कुछ पैसा मिले या कुछ चीज मिले. For example, it is this sort of crowdfunding is usually used for medical emergencies, charity, NGO, and disaster relief. Now, raising funds for a surgery on Keto and Milap is one of the donation based crowdfunding. It's a pure help, no return. And in case of debt crowdfunding, it's peer to peer lending, where backers lend money with the expectations of receiving the money back with the interest. So it is used for personal loans and small business fundings. Examples could be, for example, you give 10,000 rupees, but you get 11,000 later. So it's like a loan, but not a donation. A quick comparison can really help you here. The donation return to a supporter is nothing, risk level is low. In case of reward, product and perk are given to the supporter, but risk level is medium. Equity risk is high because you are giving the shares in the company. Then we have is debt. Then we have is debt, which is um the s- um the company has to pay the money with the along with the interest. The risk level is again medium. What is the process of crowdfunding? Number one is the project has to be defined. You will set a fundraising goal. You will prepare a campaign material. Then you will launch the campaign through the platform, right? Then comes the promotion. You have to do the continuous promotion through the social media, email, newsletter, microblogging tools, platforms, right? And then funding and delivery. If the campaign reaches its funding goal, the funds are then collected and the venture proceeds with the project or business. Uh, so this reward or equity are distributed as per the crowdfunding model. What are the advantages of crowdfunding? You get the market validation. For example, you have come up with this idea of startup and you go to the crowdfunding platform and you put your idea. So when you get the money, you get to know that people really support our idea. So you get a market validation. Then there is community building. You build a community through crowdfunding platforms, and you get to know who all are the people that are supporting the cause. Then then we have is publicity and marketing. This campaign itself can serve as a powerful marketing tool. So the more publicity and marketing, crowdfunding model platforms will it attracts many users, many investors. So if they see your idea, it will also create some publicity and help you in the marketing. What are the challenges and considerations in this case? Challenges and consideration could be the funding uncertainty. There might be chance that your campaign might not reach the funding goal that you were expecting. Intellectual property concern. That means some might publicly sharing your idea can expose your business plan or idea to the others as well, right? So somebody else could copy it. Then there is intensive campaign management. When it comes to intensive campaign management, it means that intensive campaign management means running a successful campaign requiring significant efforts in terms of marketing, communication, and fulfillment. Then we have is social impact bonds. These are the way to find social programs which private investors pay upfront, and the government repays them only if the program succeeds. So, social impact bond is basically you get the money, but in case the program does not succeed, you do not get money. But if your program succeeds, then government repays back all the money that has been used by you. So it's basically pay for success model. Government has made it very easy. Like, for example, government puts in money for a cause, but if there is no payout of that or no success of that particular initiative, then there is a loss of government. But they have shifted this to the private sector. They said that investors can fund a social service, social mission. If they achieve that, if they achieve a social mission, then government will pay them all the expense that they have done back. But in case that mission is failed, then the losses of the investment, then the government will not pay anything. So it is suitable for the ventures that want to collaborate with the government bodies or the large organizations in the sectors like health, education, and social welfare. So funding is directly tied to achieve measurable and agreed upon social outcomes. It is an innovative and outcome focused financing mechanism that blends the investment and the social welfare. So government makes sure that the financial risk is shifted from government to the investor in case of no success. For example, if investor gives 1 crore to the NGO to run the education program, and if students' result improve, government will pay them 1.2 crores, right? Profit included. But in case the results are not achieved, then government pays nothing. So that's a social impact bonds. Interesting, है ना ये वाले? Then we have is mechanisms for social impact bonds, how it is done. There is investment. That means the private investor provide the capital to fund the social program. Then is implementation. The service provider, often a non-profit or social enterprise, implements the program. Outcome is assessed. An independent evaluator basically measures the program success based on the pre-agreed outcomes. And if the program is success, then the government repays the amount back along with the interest, right? Or along with the profit. And in case the objective is not achieved, the cause is not achieved, then government pays nothing. That's the social impact bond. These are some of the India's SIB. You just have a look at it. Okay. So this India's SIB is the number one is educate girls development in impact bonds. Now this SIB was launched in 2015 in Rajasthan, with the main focus of it was one of the first impact bond, and worldwide also the first in education. The goal was to bring out of the school girls into the school and improve their learning through reading and math skills. How it worked basically. um UBS Optimus Foundation invested into this cause. NGO was Educate Girls, and the outcome pair was the Children's Investment Fund Foundation. So investors were paid upfront, um, and were repaid only if the results were achieved. So the results exceeded the expectations. Enrollment targeted achieved was 106 percentage, and the learning outcome achieved was 160 percentage. Next SIB is Quality Education India Impact Bond, which was launched in 2018. One of the largest, India's largest impact bond, with the goal of this impact bond is to improve learning outcomes of the school children. This impact helped this SIB helped in improving the literacy and numeracy amongst the children, amongst 2 lakh plus children actually. So the payments were made to the investors only when students actually learn better. Then there is Utkrisht Impact Bond, which is of healthcare, focus on the maternal and the newborn health pre and postnatal. The main focus is to improve the quality of care of pregnant women, reduce any maternal or infant deaths. The aim is to help 2 to 4 lakh women every year, and improve the healthcare standards and facilities. So investors paid first, repaid only if the healthcare facilities improve. So that is SIB. Advantage क्या है इसका? That outcome focused funding है. That means if outcome is achieved, you will get paid. The risk is transferred from government to the public sector, government to the private sector, and you know that if that is shifted to the private sector, they will follow the procedures to make sure achieve all the results. Then innovation encouragement. They encourage innovative approaches to social problems as investors are incentivized to fund the effective solution. What are the challenges? Complexity. SIB can be complex. There is no such outcome measurement tool or mechanism that so the quantifying or qualifying, there is no such a reliable way through which um, this scalability or this matrix can be set. Then there is limited scope. The program is only outcome focused. One, the outcome is achieved. I don't know, like, or there are chances that, the outcomes of the program cannot be clearly defined and measured. So that is, and the program is limited to certain events. Then outcome uncertainty is all about dependency on a specific outcome that can be risky for the investors and may affect the funding for necessary but less measurable. Then we have is traditional grants and donations. Traditional grants and donations is about understanding the difference between. This can be understood when we understand the difference between grants and donation. Now, grants mean that you have um, grants are basically non-repayable funds. You don't have to repay it back. You get this funds from government bodies, foundations, and corporations. That is typically for specific purposes, project. They are basically given by government, foundation, or CSR, usually for specific purpose or projects. Donations are basically contribution from the individuals, business, or groups offered without expectations of repayment. So there is no such expectations for the repayments. Expectations for the repayment. Uh, People in the organization, so the money is given voluntarily to support a cause. There are ways of funding social cause where money is given upfront, usually without expecting the financial return. So, in the grant, you get the money, you don't have to repay it back, but you have to apply for it. But in case of donation, you don't have to repay back the money, but then you get this money voluntarily by the people. Right. So grant application process is that you have to create a proposal, you have to submit the proposal, and in case of this, a compliance, a grantor will give the, check all the criteria of your proposal, and then they will give you the give you the access to the grants. Then we have this type of grants. Number one is project specific grant. Number two is operational grant. Project specific grant is all about funding that is given for particular project with clearly defined goals and outcomes that needs to be achieved within the stipulated time period. So operational related grant is basically when one has to support the day-to-day operations of the organization. So it usually covers general expenses. Project specific grant basically covers a particular cause that has been defined. So the purpose of project specific grant is that specific, it is given for certain specific project. Operational grant is for the operational overall organization. Flexibility for project specific grant is low, but for operational grant is high. Focus for project specific grant is outcomes or results, and operational grant is sustainability. Usage restriction for project specific grant is strict, and for operational grant is flexible. Right. So these are the key differences between the two types of grants. Then there is sources and types of donations. Now we've covered the grants. Now we have the donations. What are the sources? What are the types of donations? Number one is individual donor is a personal individual contributor that wants to make a donation maybe on a monthly basis, once in a month, once in a year, once in 6 months, or something like that. Corporate donations is basically where when businesses become, eligible to do the corporate social responsibility or take the such initiatives. So under their initiative, what does company do is that they give the donations, they donate some amount to the NGOs or to certain enterprises. So that is a corporate donation. Fundraising events activity is about revenue generated through organized events, campaigns, or appeals. So, fundraising activities can be organized. Now, this is the difference between traditional grants and donations. Um, so grants is a non-pay repayable funds, but it is project specific or cost operational cost specific. Donations is contribution from individuals, businesses, or groups, which is often given without specific conditions. Key characteristic for the traditional grant is that they are not repayable, targeted for specific purpose, requires strategic alignment of the strategic alliance with the grantor's objective. In case of donation, it can be restricted or unrestricted. No repayment required, and the sources can be varied. Application or procurement process, that is submission of detailed proposals, compliance with grantors criteria, and often competitive and rigorous. In case of donation, fundraising activities, individual outreach, and CSR initiatives can be done. Types of grants could be project specific operational grants, and donations could be one off contribution or recurring support. Pros for traditional grant is specific funding amount, no repayment, enhanced credibility. Donations could be flexibility in usage, build community relationships, and diverse applications. Cons could be competitive, strategic, restricted usage, time consuming application process. And for donations, it is unpredictable as a steady income source, requires continuous engagement, and may have donors' expectations. Next we have is impact funding. Impact funding is basically getting financial returns and a social and seeks return in both financial return finance thing financial return and the social and environmental impact. So they expect returns, that is profit and the social impact. So it is also called a double bottom line approach. The individuals, private equity firms, or specialized impact funds are the sources from which investments come from. Impact investment represents a revolutionary shift in the way investment is viewed, because usually in if we see invest return on investment is usually financial, but impact investment is the expectations from the profits as in terms of profit as well as in terms of social impact as well. So this investment strategy basically focuses on generating profit, positive, measurable, measurable social and environmental impact alongside a financial return. So these investments are typically made in areas such as renewable energy, local housing, education, healthcare, and microfinancing. The process of impact investing is identification and selection, which is identifying the potential investment opportunities that really aligns with a specific social and environmental goal. This process often involves rigorous due diligence to assess both potential impact and financial viability of the investment. Then is investment and management, which is once suitable opportunity is identified, impact investments are made either directly in the companies or through the funds that focuses on the impact sectors. These investments are actively managed to track both the financial performances and the impact investments. What are the types of impact investments? Number one is equity, that means buying shares on the company. Number two is debt, lending money through loans. Third is venture capitalist, that is investing in the startups. Then we have is bonds, including the social impact bonds. Now, how do we measure the impact? Impact investment is focused on the dual return. So they need returns in terms of financial profit and return on investment, in terms of impact, number of people helped, pollution reduced, etc. There are tools that are used to measure that. That is Global Impact Investing Network, and then United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. What are the challenges and considerations when it comes to impact investment? That is balancing returns and impact, right? Financial return and achieving a meaningful impact, maintaining a balance between both is very challenging. There might be case that sometimes you might get higher impact but lower profit, so this could be one of the challenge. Market development, market is unsure, so that could also create a challenge. So a greater transparency is very much needed to increase or build the trust amongst the investors. Now we have is corporate partnership and sponsorship. Corporate partnership and sponsorship means, what does it mean? They are collaboration between the companies and the social ventures. So, with the corporation supporting social cause while enhancing their CSR profile and making presence. So, it is a mutual benefit. So, we have two options. That is, we will now understand what is corporate partnership and what is corporate sponsorship. Corporate partnership is about collaborative relationships between the social ventures and the business aimed at achieving the shared social, environmental, and economic objectives. So it is like a joint effort, shared responsibilities, right? Efforts are joint, and for example, a tech-based company working an NGO and to build a education software. So joint effort by the NGO and the company, but the responsibility is shared. Right, it's a long-term collaboration, focuses on the social outcomes and the business outcomes. Corporate sponsorship is typically involves financial support from a corporation to a social venture in exchange for brand exposure, marketing opportunities, or alignment with the social cause. So, a company that gives money or support in exchange for promotion or visibility, it is a short term and event based, more transactional. For example, a simple exchange of money for promotion. So, that's a corporate sponsorship. Here in the partnership, both are working along with each other. In corporate sponsorship, the money has been given. All they want is just to display their name. So that's a sponsorship. How does this corporate collaboration, you know, creates the advantage? It gives the resource access, it increases the visibility, it helps in sustainable funding, and it also helps in market expansions. But what all challenges are there? Alignment of values, the values of the company and the NGO might not be aligned together. Dependency risk, like you are highly dependent. You are highly dependent on the companies for the resources. Autonomy and influence. If the company is paying you money, there might be chances that the decisions are being, you know, the companies might take decisions on your behalf. So that could be one that could also be one of the challenge. Next, we have is corporate social responsibility. What is corporate social responsibility? And see, a company under Section 135 of Companies Act 2013 is mandated to undertake a CSR if they meet a following criteria: a net worth of 5 crore or more, a turnover of 1 crore or more, or a net profit of 5 crore or more. So this is the criteria for CSR. So CSR is basically corporate social responsibility, where companies' commitment to manage the social, environmental, and economic effects of its operations responsibly and in alignment with the public expectations. So it is very important for any company to go for the CSR initiative, follows such CSR initiatives. What does CSR how does this CSR play a role in social venture? How does it impact through collaboration? It provides the skills, it provides the resources, it provides skill and knowledge, and it also provides the access to the market and credibility. How it mutually benefits both for social venture. If they get all the funding, resources, increased visibility, marketing, everything. For corporation, it partnering up with a social venture helps the CSR to improve the brand image, improve the attract more customers, and uh, be a socially responsible business. CSR strategies for social ventures that leverages partnership. It can help in strategic alignment. It can also, clear communication can help to show the venture's impact and value. A storytelling, attracting corporate interest and sport, and provide all kind of support that they can get. So this is our entire unit number 1 and entire unit number 2. In the next class, I'll try to cover up our unit number 3 and like maybe half of unit number 4. I know it's a very long class, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to digest all those concepts. So I'll be starting with unit number 3 in the next class and maybe half of unit number 4, if that makes sense. Any doubt till now? Okay, I have already
Hmm.
shared this. I have already shared this PPT with you all. I have not shared the PPT for unit number 3, 4, and 5. I'll do that as well. I'll share those PPTs as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.